Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
On today's episode of Business Coaching Secrets, we have never before released recordings where Karl guarantees to solve any business coaching problem on the spot.
Hey, Karl Bryan coming at you. Hope everybody's doing good. Here for another week of my presentation where I guarantee to solve any business coaching problem on the spot. This is week 4. Good news, bad news. Good news is we are all here. The bad news is this is the last week of the series. So we're going to try and fly through. I know last week, I think we had, I got a lot of questions I think I want to get through here today. So some of them I'll just be reading out. Others, if you guys have a question before we get going, what I need you to do is raise your hand or just chuck your question into the box. And I can either read it out or, again, I can open you up live. If you want to be live, just type live with your question. Then I'll make sure that you are here to answer it, that I answer it live in case you got kind of follow on. And if you just have a question, you just raise your hand and I will look after it. And don't be shy, guys. We got lots of folks here. Raise those hands and get them going. And before we get going, one of the things I did want to do is just answer a question. Like I get asked all the time, Karl, why do you do what you do? You know, what's the inspiration? All that sort of stuff. And I do think it's insanely relevant. I think it's a great question. I also think it's insanely relevant, or at least I'm going to explain why it's insanely relevant here. So here it is, guys. Why do I do what to do? So when I was 16 years old, my big brother committed suicide over a business failing. Little did I know at the time, again, it was obviously pretty rough. My mother then went on to drink herself to death right there in front of me, had a front row seat for the whole thing. You can imagine at the age of 16, 17, 18, you got puberty and girls and high school and getting your driver's license and that sort of stuff, drinking your first few beers and maybe you're hitting a vodka, what do we call them? Slime, vodka. What is that? Vodka. We called it a slime. Vodka, 7 and lime, I guess. But anyways, whatever, thinking back, Long Island iced tea, whatever it was. I mean, these are the types of things that at the age of 16, 17, 18, you like to be thinking about. But my mother was, basically drinking herself to death. She didn't even drink while I grew up. My dad's in AA, been in AA since I was a kid. So like my dad never drank and my mother never drank. So again, like it was kind of wild, in a horrific way. But anyway, so, we'd go to the nightclub and I'd come home and I would never know what I was coming home to, like again, my mom was trying to slit her wrist and this isn't the pity part or anything like that. I'm trying to, let you guys know like the depth and whatnot of like where it really lives with me. And that's really, again, and my mom, she went through some real tough times. I'd have to, we'd park the car, 3 blocks away so they wouldn't come and repossess it. Yeti, that story. You guys have heard variations of this, not from me, but from others, many a times. Maybe, it's a little bit unique and different in that way in that, their mom probably didn't drink themselves to death and their brother didn't commit suicide. But what I really want to impress upon you from the story and then why I do what I do, separations, marriages break up from lack of money 100 times more than they do lack of love, right? And then what happens when you get the separation, you get the divorce? Obviously, it's horrific and the money gets cut in half. There's, dad sometimes takes a long time to kind of get his act together, or maybe in some instances it's mom, whatever it might be. But then what happens now, you've got a 16-year-old, maybe it's a 12-year-old kid, a 14-year-old kid, a 7-year-old kid, a 16-year-old kid. And now they got 2 houses to spread themselves between, right? And then what happens? And then it's the girlfriend. My dad was we were so close when I was growing up. He's my best friend for sure. Basically like, and now, I got to meet his girlfriend, right? And again, I'll give you the red hot tip. I wasn't overly pleased. I wasn't interested in sharing my father at that particular time, right? And then it's, not stepdaddy, but the boyfriend, came in on the other end. And like, I didn't want to meet any of these folks. What I really wanted to do was just live in my damn house that we had lived in and grown up in, which, by the way, ended up burning down. That's a story for another day as to exactly why it burnt down. But I can tell you, I had all my trophies, all my, photos as a kid. Like, I don't have any photos when I was a kid, yada, yada, yada. I mean, just horrific. But really what I want to impress upon you from that is like the reason why, or I think for a lot of you listening in, the reason why you do it, just think of little Karl, right? When I say Karl, I'm just using myself metaphorically, right? Like, just like that is, I'd like to say that my story is unique. Maybe it's unique in the fact that, there's some details I've just given you, but we all know marriages break up from lack of money 100 times more than they do lack of love. And that's all that was. And in entrepreneurial families break up at significantly, greater rates than the average family. And like, that's a big thing. So when we say, okay, look, you got to pick up the phone, you got to call some folks. I don't want you to call them to make some money. I don't want you to call them because you need a coaching client. I don't want you to call them because, basically the program told you to. What I want you to pick up the phone and call for is for that metaphoric little Karl, right? Like, that's why. And maybe it's the kid that wants to go to Disneyland, but you drive by the billboard or you see the ad or you look at the Facebook ads that this Facebook ad campaign, there's no chance of it working whatsoever. And that in order to put this together, they must have spent at least a few grand, right? Well, how about you call them for no other reason and say, how you spent, like you must have spent $3,000 on that ad that I was looking at, Facebook, billboard, newspaper, magazine, online directory, whatever it might be, rather than spend the money on the ad, and I don't have to ask you if the ad was working because I know it wasn't. What you really should do is turn that off. I understand you have a couple of kids. I saw your Facebook page or I saw your website or whatever it is. Take the $3,000 and get your kids to Disneyland. They probably appreciate it. And that ad that you're running has got absolutely no hope of working whatsoever. They're going to be like, well, what do you mean? How do you know? And it's like, well, basically it's a blown up business card. You got your name of the company at the top. You got service quality and dependability basically in the middle. You got your phone number and your web address at the bottom, and that's what everybody's doing, right? There's no point of differentiation. There's no scarcity. There's no limited time offer. There is no offer whatsoever. There's no live event, no free report, no book, nothing I can download. There's no offer. So anyway, so call them. So what I'm getting at is like a lot of the time what I find is like business coaches, and then of course we go separation and divorces, and very importantly, we got to talk about the suicides, right? Like what happens, and unfortunately, again, I'd like to say that my situation is unique. I can tell you that like I have had phone calls over the last short period of time, and I guess maybe we should accept that we're living in a pandemic. But I have had people on the phone that are 100% grade A in a rough spot thinking about doing some incredibly nasty and harmful things to themselves, right? So what, and what am I getting at there? Like business owners don't think that those guys on the end of my phone are overly unique either, right? So like as a business coach, guys, I'm really passionate about this topic. I'm going to start actually, you get my daily emails, which you probably do if you're on this. I'll be talking about this at a higher level in the future. But the reality, guys, is that that's why we do what we do right there. Like you pick up the phone, we save freaking lives, guys. We're like doctors, okay? In that sense, business coaches, and I believe this might sound to some of you that never really thought of it this way. It might sound a little bit dramatic, and it might take you, kind of hanging up and thinking about this and speaking to a few folks and kind of looking a little bit deeper within yourself and maybe some clients that you've had in the past or some people or whatever it might be. But I believe this. We save marriages. We save lives. We are like, that's why you're a business coach. And when you're a good business coach, this is what you really do. And then the good news is that we go 10 steps further from that. And then you get the guy from depression, from separation, from divorce or whatever it might be. And then when you understand the principles of growing a business, what are they? Basic stuff like writing down goals. Everybody tells me they don't goal setting, but if you're listening to this right now, I challenge you, go open your wallet and show me. Or, if you've ever heard my hack, what I will do is I go for a walk. I did it this morning. Like I'll go for a walk in the morning and I basically have this thing that I do and shamelessly stolen from Tony Robbins, but I say, I now command my subconscious mind to, and then I enter the goal. So look, let's say that my goal is to be, and the more specific I can be and finite I can be on my goal, the more better chance I've got of it. of achieving it. But let's just say my goal is to make $100,000 a year as a business coach. And then if you if you break those numbers down, that's $8,333 a month, right? So I'll go for a walk and I say, I now command my subconscious mind to direct me to do whatever it takes to make $8,333 a month. And then I end it with starting now. The starting now is very important because you could make $8,333 a month in that example, but if you could wait 18 months, you could make 12 months. You're talking to your subconscious mind. You got to tell them to start now, right? So did you go for a walk and did you do something along those lines? And I would dare say that I've opened up your wallet or I followed you this morning on your walk. You didn't do either of them. So everybody tells me they do goal setting, but nobody's really doing it. If you're following my emails, you're seeing that I've been talking about 80-20 a lot lately, right? 80-20. Everybody tells me they know time management, but are they really breaking down their time and spending their time on the 80% tasks? Right? Or the 20% tasks that bring in the 80%, in other words, and then breaking that down and going 150, where 1% of your activity, 1% of your clients, 1% of your coaching programs bring in 50% of the revenue, the efficiency, and whatnot. And the answer is probably not. These are the absolute basics, right? And the business owner that you cold call or speak to today will tell you that they understand goal setting and time management. But the reality is they're not following through on any of it. And then you got your other basics, like something like upsell. You got downsell. You've got cross-sell. Like, do you want fries with that? They've all heard it, but you'll literally go into, a place that sells hamburgers today that doesn't have McDonald's out the front, walk in, order a burger and a Coke, and then see if they say, do you want fries with that? And try explain that to me. Like how would that make sense, right? Like they've all been to McDonald's. They literally sell burgers for a living and they're not saying, do you want fries with that? And if they're not saying, do you want fries with that? They're also not saying, do you want me to supersize that? Right? Like, it's like, are you crazy? Like, just literally, do you want an apple pie with that? They're not doing these basics. And then, if you've got a different, a client in a different niche, like a good example is a lawyer, do you want a will with that? Are they saying it? And the answer is no, right? So upsell, downsell, cross-sell, proper upfront offer, right? So if you work with us and you're one of our coaches, you know that we train our coaches so that they can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without spending $1 on marketing or advertising. Like, if you're a business coach, you could live to be 200 years old. And I don't think you're ever going to come up with a better upfront offer than that. And if you do, fire me an email or get me on the horn. I'd love to hear it. But the bottom line is that that's a killer offer. Well, I would guess that you would agree with that, right? If you don't, I disagree with you, right? But that's a really good offer. What are they offering? What's the chiropractor offering? What's the dentist offering? What are, the different businesses in terms of, their upfront offers? And the answer is they don't really have them, right? So you go and put those things in place. So that was my, something that I've been thinking a lot about lately in my emails, and you're probably going to see this in a PS and a, PPS in the future, like where I really believe that we save lives, right? We if you go to the doctor, you have depression, go help somebody build, like somebody has depression and their business sucks. Go help them fix their business, and magically, guess what's going to happen to the depression? And in some cases, again, I do understand depression at a pretty high level. So it's not the cure all, but for many of the folks to be dealing with, it is, right? Because again, this is one of the things that they're challenged with. So, marriages break up from lack of money over lack of love. I believe that there's a massive amount of power in that. And I just want to start with that to make you guys feel like, as far as a business coach, it's sure we can make a good living and we can do this for the next, 10, 15, 20 years without stopping. Warren Buffett is the highest paid business consultant in the world. I think the guy just had his 90th birthday and he's still going strong. That's the magic of this. It's like, if you're a realtor and you can't get up and down the stairs, you're not going to sell many houses, right? So what happens is you have a use by date. And if you've ever gone to Home Depot and you're wondering, how the heck does that guy end up working at Home Depot? Like, does he just like this? Is this just fun for him? Or is he here because he needs to, and he needs the $10 an hour, like he needs the job, right? Well, somebody who has to retool at the wrong age is basically, that's how you end up working at Home Depot, right? And then something like 2008 with the stock market. But anyways, without going too deep on that, I hope you guys like that. It's a topic that I'm very passionate about, and I've decided, in my quiet time to think, I refer to it. My quiet time, this is a message that I need. I'm not, spitting that out enough. I'm not sure that I did a great job here this morning, by the way, with it. But that's something you're going to be hearing from me more often, and I can't begin to tell you how passionate I am about it. So that's what I would say. With that being said, guys, I want you to raise your hands. I got a bunch of folks here, but we're going to fly through some questions today. So if you've got a question for me, I want you to raise your hand, or I want you to take raise your hand or chuck a question into the box. And again, hang on. Sorry, guys. I got a lot of folks here, guys, and it's jumping around like crazy. Just give me a sec. Oh, my goodness. All right. Okay, cool. I am going to start. Michelle Leaf, you are on mute, my love, and you have got to unmute yourself. Yo, Michelle. There she is. She's live. How are you this morning, Michelle?
Oh, I am all right. How are you?
Doing fabulously. You're live. Lots of folks listening to you. Lots of folks are going to hear the replay. No pressure, Michelle. But what's your question, my love?
Yeah, all the pressure in the world as you tell me no pressure.
That is it. What do you got for me?
Oh, I so love you for that, though. That's the part of what I guess probably really attracted me to you to begin with.
Thank you.
As I am brand new, coming out, getting everything launched and started, going with the stuff with the PAS and all that, it tends to get overwhelming and that kind of thing. What is the best thing you can tell me coming out the gate?
Best thing I can tell you. Okay. So you're just getting started. When I coach anybody, here's what I got to do. I've got to establish the little red arrow. You are here, right? So the way I describe it, I've done it 100 times, but like you and I are skiing, we get to the top of the mountain. There's a map. The most important part of that map is the little red arrow. You are here. Help me with that. What's your expert? Where have you been successful in the past? Why do you do what you do? And again, be real quick, but like you get the idea. Give me a sense as to where you're at.
I was a hairdresser. I was a real estate agent. I was climbing, and then I broke my neck. My world had to completely restart. I couldn't climb those real estate steps, so it threw me completely out of there and stuff like that. I do have business sense, but I've got the wherewithal with the fact that I broke my neck. I became a C5 quadriplegic. I proved the doctors wrong. I've got the mindset. So now I'm who and what and how do I go out to help?
Okay. Oh my God. And Michelle, I know your story very well. Oh my goodness. So everybody listening, that's Michelle, you are an inspiration to so many people, starting with myself. Here it is. So, but look, we got to go. So the fact that you've got that story, you could just imagine that getting some coaching clients, it's not, and this won't come up from a place of sympathy. It's going to come from a place of, I think I've got it bad. And then look at what Michelle's doing. She's pounding it over there. So, you know what I mean? Like that story is a freaking powerful one. So you want to make sure you get it out there. But here it is. You've had success as a hairdresser and you understand that space. That would be a really good undertaking. So what you do, I want you to spend the day surfing the internet and just go to different cities in and around you, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like cities in and around you. And you're just literally calling. Because again, and of course we could do Facebook campaigns and we could talk about reaching out through LinkedIn. Just literally phone some people. Because like today, like that opening that kind of struck a chord with you. Would that be fair to say? This morning?
Yes.
You're going to strike a chord with them.
Been there, know all about it. Right. Yes.
It's going to be a call that you're going to have to call Ken in order to get the two that go, you know what? I don't know why you just called me, but that went really well. Like I just had a conversation before this today. It was supposed to be like a 30-minute call. It's by the way, and we're going to talk about this. I'm going to interview him on my podcast. It's a heavyweight. And basically it was supposed to be like a 15-minute call and we were on the phone for an hour and a half. I had to get off so that I could get this thing started, right? So just once, and it was just like, my timing was good. His timing was good. We connected, kindred spirits, and it went from one strength to the next. When you call those hairdressers, remember, you're not going to call them because you need money. I don't want you to call them because we're going to fill the bank account. I don't want you to call them because you want to build the biggest business coaching company in the world. I want you to call them because somebody needs to be inspired today, because they're having a real rough day, and you're going to call until you connect with that one individual. And that's it. And then and that's far from it. But what is your offer going to be? It's going to be, look, well, tell me give me your little red arrow. Where are you at? They're going to explain. And then you're going to go, well, look, I've got this proprietary software where I can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without spending $1 on marketing or advertising. There's some little small tweaks and some little, nuances in your hairdressing practice that I guarantee, if we just picture a screwdriver and if we just turn it ever so slightly, we're going to be able to make a dramatic impact on your business. And then what you're going to do is send them to your video. Your everything is wrong. Your video on showing them everything they've ever heard about marketing is wrong. We're going to send them to that. And basically, you're going to set up another call to go through the software, and bingo, bango, bongo. And now, again, this is a slightly deeper conversation we need to go on to with some of the nuances. But Michelle, what you need to do, because progress, here's 3 words. Progress equals happiness. When you look, the thought of making 25 cold calls today probably makes you throw up in your mouth, or most people. But I promise you, it's a bit like, okay, not you. Okay, Michelle, I love it. For some of the folks listening.
And the only reason why was because, like, with my real estate career, that was one, Floyd Wickman and them in my brain telling me expect 200 no's today in order to get that one yes. So that part that doesn't faze me a bit.
Yeah, and that's it. Okay, and the reason you're going to phone them, though, you're going to go surf their websites. Look for, and again, if you see advertising anywhere, like, that's the reason why you call, right? Like, I saw your website. And it's so easy, just like 5 minutes of homework, right? You can find yourself 50 hair salons close by. And basically, that's the reason you're going to phone them is, look, there's some tweaks on your website that you don't know about that I do that are going to make a dramatic impact, because they woke up this morning thinking, how the heck do I make this website convert at a higher level? I'm not getting enough traffic and I'm not getting enough leads from my website. How do I do it? Well, you're going to be the person to show them. And then you're like, yeah, but I'm not a digital marketing expert, right? Good news. You don't need to be, because guess what? Their website's not converting because, again, they don't have, the girl on it. You're like, my gosh, for $20, you could buy a photo that would trump the crap out of that. And by the way, they do, guys and girls haircuts, and it says it right there, but the picture's only of a gal, right? Well, where's the guy? You just get a husband-wife team, a really good photo. There's only about 75 trillion of them on the internet, but if you got to buy one, you buy one, and there it is, right? Like, something like that makes a massive impact. The opt-in box, do they have an off? You know what I mean? They don't have offers. They don't have anything. So that's how I do it. That's it. But you got to start with the little red arrow. I am here. And like, one of the other things, somebody else is listening and they're a digital marketer and they won't pick up the phone, which I vehemently disagree with, but I get it. And that's fine. So the little red arrow wouldn't have got us here, right? We need to start talking about, connecting on Facebook, connecting on LinkedIn, sending through messages, and then lining up 15-minute calls from those messages. Make sense?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. All right. What do you think? Did I help you out?
Yes, quite a bit. Thank you. Just what I needed today.
You are an inspiration. Yes, awesome. Okay, let me know how it goes, okay? That woman is an inspiration, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you the red hot tip. Rick Westcott, we are coming for you, buddy. You are muted. You got to unmute yourself, my friend. Rick Westcott, we're coming for you. Okay, Rick, if you can run, I'm going to move down. Rick, if you want to open up in a bit here, I'll come back to you. Ronnie Michael. Oh, I think I might have clicked. Oh, there we go. Ronnie Michael, you're live, my friend. How's it going?
Hey, it's going well, Carl. Thank you so much. All right, I've got my first analysis, 2 of them scheduled tomorrow, and as I'm going through, to bone up on this a little bit. I'm seeing I got to choose from Jumpstart 12 through Jumpstart 40, and then I'm intrigued by digital acceleration, but I want to know your preference. I mean, what's your determining factor, Karl, in terms of which one you would take people through?
Okay, so what you're asking me is, so you're going to use the software with the new prospect, and you're asking which sections that I would go to?
Well, yes, that, and even before that, there's you can either select Jumpstart 12 or you can also select Jumpstart 40.
Yeah, Jumpstart 40. Okay, gotcha. Okay, good question, by the way. Okay, so first of all, and for those not working with us, guys, just look at your screen. Hopefully, very straightforward. We're talking about the software that we provide them. So here it is. Little red arrow, you are here. I would go to this individual's website. I would go to their LinkedIn profile. I would scout them out on Facebook, and I'd learn a little bit about them and what they're doing, and talking about with their business. That's an important factor. I would definitely do the Jumpstart 12. And again, for those listening, I better just give some context here. We just created a brand new. So if you see Jumpstart 12, basically that represents, like, everything's about profit acceleration, and then there's 12 areas that I would go to. We spent an incredible amount of time dialing down. In fact, we originally came up with 11, and then we insisted on creating a 12th. I think I wrote about that in an email this morning, ironically. But anyway, so there's 12 sections, and then what we did is we have what's called a deep dive. Okay, so see, that's profit acceleration 12, and then I go here. And you see this says deep dive 40. So then we've got 40 sections. And just look on the left-hand side for me, guys. If you're able to see your screen, you'll see that no longer there's actually 40 sections here. Okay. So that's what the question is about. And then we have this, but it's not a deep dive. It's a very quick and tight set of questions to go deep on those 5 areas. Okay. On those 40 areas. So answer is that I would stay in Jumpstart 12. For sure. Simple reason is that you're never going to get through all of the areas anyways. How long did you book the appointment for?
An hour and a half.
Yeah, perfect. 90 minutes. That's good. One thing, make sure that you're paying attention. You need 15 minutes to close, if not 30, but really, 15 at an absolute minimum. So make sure that you know when it's time to start delving into that close, because you don't want to get him to the point where he's teetering and you just need to push a little bit more. But now, the phone rings, the door knocks, the bell goes off, and he's got to go. So make sure you know when it's time to segue into that close. Absolutely critical. But I would just go to the 12th. And I'd go to, what kind of business is it?
Oh, this is a IT business. Actually, he has 2 businesses. He has an IT business, and he's got a service business that's kind of a niche, really cool business. That's a triage application mobile app that he has for home healthcare people. Really kind of cool. But anyway, so it's that kind of a techie guy, but good business guy.
Yep. Okay, super. Now, my question is, which business does he want you to come in and talk about?
Really, the triage business is going to be number one.
Yeah. Okay, so get to his LinkedIn profile. And by the way, on a scale of 1 to 10, he's got 2 businesses. Good idea or bad idea, in your opinion?
Bad idea.
Exactly.
Especially if you're starting from scratch, right? I mean,
yeah. So this is, but that being said, be careful. Would I go in there telling him what a horrific idea it is to have multiple businesses? No. But remember, I want to, at the end of the day, you've got an obligation to give this guy the best direction. I can tell you that Bill Gates didn't have 2 companies. Jeff Bezos doesn't have 2 companies, and the list goes on, right? What you do is you build one company. Like anybody out there, I often rail against multiple streams of income, right? Not sure if you ever heard me on that one, but it's crazy, right? Like anybody telling you that multiple streams of income is a good idea, or promoting it to you, more to the point, just trying to sell you a book or a program, right? So so the rule, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Get one business to 5 million. And then talk to me about your real estate investments, etc. Right? So, instead of buying that extra real estate piece, go and hire a staff member, and you get a significantly greater return on that staff member. And of course, that's a black and white statement to a gray situation, but no doubt you get where I'm coming from. With this guy, he's got 2 companies. I would dare say that part of what I'd be coaching them towards is to say, well, look, which baby are we going to raise here? And it's, can we put one up for sale or what have you? But that's probably a conversation for another day. So that's the answer. I hope Profit Accelerate, the Jumpstart 12 is where I'd be taking them for sure. I would also go to your expertise. Again, like, what do you know about, are you a marketing guy in market dominating positions or something that you spit out naturally? Then I'd go there. Are you I was always an upfront offer guy. I was good at that, right? So I'd create, upfront offers, like the equivalent of finding somebody $100,000 in 45 minutes without spending $1 on marketing or advertising, help them create the equivalent of that. This is where I would naturally go. Increased prices is absolutely bulletproof, right? Again, I don't need to meet him to know that he hasn't raised his prices in 3 years. And the reasoning behind it is that he's worried he's going to lose all his clients, and communicating with them and whatnot is a real challenge. So again, this is somewhere where I'd go. Upsell, cross-sell, those things are just so easy to do. So I don't know. That's the answer, man. Does that help?
It helps a lot. I've got another question, but I'm going to let everybody else.
No, that's okay. No, go while I got you. What's the other question?
Great. I want to talk about the contingency. All right, your profit sharing, right, and pricing, right. So I want to get paid on the back end, but what I'm, I guess, unclear on is how do you tie that to their financials, and do you do that? Obviously, I think you have to do that up front, right? So tell me a little bit about that conversation. How do I hold my client accountable for all the revenue growth?
Great question. Yeah. Okay. Great question. Little bit. So I'm going to just give you a real quick answer on this one, but here it is. You do not tie it to profit, because profit can be manipulated 9 ways to Sunday. Okay. So always off of gross revenue. What you're going to find, ironically, like, let's say you're coaching, you want to be $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year plus contingency. If you get 20 clients at $2,000 a month, that's $480,000 a year as a business coach, right? And I would dare say for you and anybody listening, I mean, this is a pretty good income, especially when you're doing something like consulting, and we've got, we play with 70, 80% margins because that's an easy thing to do, and we don't need staff, et cetera, for the most part. So if you think about the contingency is a great way to get high-end coaching clients. But the truth is, and if I put Jay Abraham on the phone, Dan Kennedy, you name it, how often does the contingency really matter? And the answer is more, you know what I mean? Way less than it does. Like 5% of the time, it's even worth talking about, right? Like maybe a particular company, you're going to franchise them, what have you, and then that's going to be a home run. So I would encourage you to put it in place. But would I sweat on the contingency? And the answer is no. But very importantly, it will help you get those high-end coaching clients at a significantly higher rate. And think about it. I'm sitting in front of you. If I put a contingency in front of you, my prices are higher, right? Like, this should actually throw you off. This should make it harder for me to close you. You'll absolutely find the opposite. And then the question is why? And it's because when you're sitting with them, and again, preeminence is an important part of this. Like, how did you get to that meeting is another question. It's very important that you maintain a level of preeminence with them. When they think that you're going to make the bulk of your money off of their profits, all of a sudden, you know what I mean? That preeminence and their confidence in you and the confidence in the relationship and the excitement towards the relationship goes up big time. Big time. So the answer is gross revenues, and you're just doing it on a monthly basis. You're getting together with them and you're just tracking this stuff, right? So you've got the client where you're really knocking it out of the park. You're just, you're logging these numbers on a monthly basis, and where it's worth talking about, and you get your extra check, right?
So I guess, how do you measure it, Carl? What do you typically ask them to measure? I mean, you ask them for their bank account, for their
profit loss. Yeah, the financials, profit loss. And they and there's a good chance they don't have a relationship with an accountant. Well, guess what? You want to be part of them speaking to their accountant. By doing that, the accountant, trust me, is going to be really impressed. You've got a good chance of following up with that accountant, and you've got a joint venture, because this guy actually knows what he's doing. Like, how many other business coaches are insisting that you form a higher level relationship with your accountants? Right? And the answer is very few. It's a great idea. So you see how it's multifaceted, the approach?
I do. So, test my understanding, we're doing this, number one, to gain some credibility and intimacy in the sense that we're willing to be paid, by our success. Right? And then, and secondly, if and when they take us up on it, you measure it monthly, not annually. That was that makes more sense.
Well, depending upon the size of the company, quarterly. Again, if you're doing, large deals, quarterly is the way. Because again, on a monthly, but look, it would be different if you weren't there coaching them on a weekly or biweekly basis. It would be significantly harder to track. The fact that you're literally there with them, and what you want to encourage them to do is sitting down with their account, like getting financials, bookkeeping from their accountant on a monthly basis. And it's right there. Like it's sitting right in front of you.
Almost sounds like this maybe should be one of our discovery questions, right? In terms of their financials, right? Do they have? I think is that one of the questions? Probably is. You can tell.
Yeah. Absolutely. Gross revenue. That's the first question you ask. And financials, first question. Yeah. Make sure. Yeah. You go financials first. And real simple. You get their gross revenues, and an approximate is fine at this point. You get their net profit. You get their gross profit. If they don't know it, just use 50 and 20, right? 50 for gross, 20 for net. And you'll be, it's just math. At the end of the day, this isn't scientific, right? Like this is like creating some ballpark. So that's the way you do it. Cool, bananas?
Thank you, Carl. Yep.
You're welcome, buddy. Okay, cool, man. I'm going to put you back on mute. And I'm going to come back. Rick, you are live, my friend. I tried to open you a second ago, and here you are. Oh, Rick, you there? Hang on a sec. Okay, Rick, you are live, my friend. We can't hear Rick. Okay, let me just read out the question here. It's got two. Okay, what are your thoughts on niching as a business coach? Okay, good question. My thoughts on niching as a business coach is that you should probably work towards it. I would dare say, depending upon the level that you're at, it might be better. You don't know right now who you're going to work the best with, chiropractors, dentists, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers. You might have an assumption, but you might find that, it's something you got to experiment a little bit with. So it's just, if you get 20 clients at $2,000 a month, that's $480,000 a year. One of the easiest ways to get coaching clients and build that size, or, like a coaching company that would rival that or come close to it, is going to form a relationship with the bookkeeper, the accountant, the chamber of commerce, like a few joint venture partners. And generally speaking, they've probably got, they don't have 96 plumbers on the books. Clearly, what they have is a whole gambit of clients and a whole gambit of niches. Also, if you're wired a little bit the way I am, I like the idea of kind of working with a number of different, when I was coaching, I liked the idea, I was pretty good at coaching, obviously, and I was very good at getting the coaching clients. There was a time in my career where I would only take you on as a client if I felt like I could learn something from you. That was my criteria. Example, look, were you spending $10,000 a month on advertising? I would take you as a client because I knew that there was something there that I could learn, right? Kind of get the idea. So if you're only going to go to specifically dentists, you're not going to have that experience. So that's what I'd say. But I think niching is a great idea. Again, I've done it. But one of the things you don't realize about niching in some cases is business. My niche is business coaches. But if you really look at my client list, I've got, we have probably 100 accountants that work with us nowadays. We've got business brokers. I got a ton of digital marketers. Somebody mentioned earlier, I just created you see profit acceleration software. I've created digital acceleration software basically for that reason. So digital marketers, so business coaches, how we put ourselves out there, and it's much easier to, basically advertise on Facebook and draw yourself a bit of a crowd. But it depends on, and again, so Rick, what I would do is I would tell you to establish two things. One, your little red arrow, you are here. And then secondly, what's the vision? Are you semi-retired and just want to make $150,000 a year and not have to dip into your retirement savings? Or or are you fired right up and you want to legitimately be a 7-figure coaching company? That would factor into it too. So I'd kind of try to establish the answer to those two questions. So there you go, my friend. I'm going to put you back on mute, and I'm going to move to, hang on a sec, where am I going? Oh, hang on a sec. There's somebody I wanted to open. Give me a tick here. Frank Gerard. Frank, I am coming for you. Got your hand up, and you got a question. Frank, you are self-muted, my friend. You got to unmute yourself. There you are. Frank, you're live.
First thing I got to say, guys, long story, but I was with Karl for a while. My mistake. I'm thinking seriously about coming back, but I have to tell you, if you're not in this thing now, and I've never been more excited. These guys are unbelievable. What this is unbelievable. And the way they care for you. I could sit here and rave for an hour. Just trust me. I'll give you one quote. Eric Roth said, "Our lives are defined by opportunities, even the ones we miss." I'm not getting a commission on this, guys, but if you don't do this, I'm going to be very upset. So that's the first thing I have to say.
And you were not paid, that, Frank. That comes, first of all, high five and thank you, man. I appreciate it. You've been around. That's a long time ago, right? When was that?
Yeah, well, long story, but I'm seriously thinking about it. So let me get to the questions.
Okay.
So I'll try to get to it fast. My first is the reason I failed was because I didn't get on the phone. That's a whole story. We won't go there. We know what motive, but I'm just telling you. I'm re-looking at it. So my question, I have two questions. The first question, I'm a copywriter doing sales funnels, pretty successful, but I like the ongoing residual. So the question is, you said not having two businesses. What do I do to transition and still have that income coming in?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. No, you got to, you got to think of it as, you ever heard me talk about, like, do you want to sell dogs or do you want to sell dog food? And then I'd give you the dog for free to sell you the dog food, right? Ideally you sell both, but if you give me the option, it's not even a conversation, right? So your copywriting up front, or look at look at Facebook. And by the way, give you the copy machine for free to sell you the copy. So I want you to think like you create a back end, and think Facebook, think LinkedIn. Facebook is just a freebie to sell you advertising. And it wasn't, initially intended that way, but that's when you look at Facebook and you're like, wow, 100 billion or whatever it is, gosh knows, it's, 100 billion plus. Basically two things: data. Okay. So they know your friends, they know where you live, they know where you went to school, they know your interests big time, better than possibly anybody. So they know what to advertise, put in front of you that you'll click on. And then basically it's a freebie to sell you advertising, right? So again, it's an advertising platform, right? So basically thinking about that. So your copywriting, I would bring the cost of your, because you're very good at it, right? So think of your funnel. See, the world doesn't need another funnel. The world needs goal setting, time management, upsell, downsell, cross sell, a proper business model, like what I just described. Again, you do copywriting for a guy who's selling the purebred dogs for $5,000, thinks he's doing well, but like in about 30 seconds, you explain to him what I just said, and my gosh, you're missing out on the whole opportunity. And then he says, yeah, but where the heck would I, like, dog food? Like, how would I do that? All you do is go into a co-packer with the food that you feed the pit bulls, and guess what? You come up with a cool name, you come up with a cool logo, and the co-packer does all the work for you, right? So again, give you the dog for free. So a proper business model. So the way you could look at it is you do your copywriting, your funnels for significantly cheaper, to basically and to plug them in to help them build a proper business, because they really don't need funnels and copywriting, and some of them do, but 98% of the time it doesn't stop there. They're significantly more, like, they got to hire salespeople. They're going to hire salespeople. They got to train the salespeople. They're going to train the salespeople. They got to train them with a proper upfront offer. They're going to all of a sudden have salespeople and new upfront offers. They're going to have a lot more clients. They've now got to create some operations. They got to create some, they got to back all this stuff up so they don't bring in a bunch of clients and then lose everybody, which is very common. They need a business coach. They need your strategy. So So that's what I would say to that, my friend. I would, let me just tell you a quick story. My first ever business coach made 330 grand in his first 6 months as a business coach with me. Not 12 months, dead set 6 months, right? Well, what happened? So he basically owned a networking organization. So you're familiar with BNI. It's like similar to BNI. Basically what it looked like, I said to him, still remember this conversation today, as many years, like 15 years ago. I said to him, what do I buy from you for 10 grand? He didn't have an answer. I said, understand I headhunted this guy, so we were going to kill it no matter what. But I just said to him, look, we're going to make some money. We're going to change some lives. Fundamentally, it wasn't this dramatic, but picture him doing the networking for free. He grew at 100 times the rate, like 100 times the speed, became the cool place to be. There's two things people want to do. They want to be educated, but they also want to be entertained. This is something else we worked on. Like, you got to have music. You got to have good looking people. You got to have somebody funny in the room, either you or somebody else. Like, people need to, be joking around. So made it a lot more fun, brought people in for free. Not everybody bought the $10,000 unit, but many did. So just imagine, instead of doing, say, $800 per annum networking, doing it for free and then selling 2 to 3 out of 10, a $10,000 and above package, right? When you do your math,
the package is consulting optimization. Is that right?
It's goal setting, time management. It's you and your wife are having a fight, and I'm there to explain to you that, sometimes it's like a hockey team. You're better to solve your problems than trade your problems, right? I think people go to trading their problems too quick. That's why you need a business coach, right?
Okay,
like
the last one.
My dad. Oh yeah, Kate, go. No, you're good.
I'm only want to respect everybody's time. So the other one
you're good.
is I work with somebody, which I won't name, which and I did some consulting for his people. And the number one obstacle, once you got through everything else, was getting these guys to implement. So what do you do? Do you help with that? Do you outsource it? What do you do?
Okay, you're talking about, so you're going to go with what I just said. You're going to do your copywriting for less.
No.
You're going to build.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt. No, forget about the copywriting. The question is this: we go and we do your thing. We find the money, right? You recommend stuff to the client. The question is, a lot of them sometimes don't implement, so they don't get the result.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you do? I
got it. Yeah. The answer is there's no such thing as a bad student. There's only a bad teacher. But they don't commit to 10 to 20, let's just say 10 to 50 grand of coaching if they don't want to follow through. The problem is it's, what's that stuff in their head? How much time are they spending on Facebook? Are they playing solitaire on their phone? So really think subtraction versus addition. The only reason you lose a coaching client is one of two things. Well, not only, but overwhelm. Okay. Or it's the opposite of overwhelm, where they just can't freaking get to it. They feel like they're failing all the time. So they basically, it's bye-bye, right? So, hang on a second. You hear me okay?
Yeah.
My earbuds are making noise. Okay. So basically, think of subtraction versus addition is it in a nutshell. And you just got to, look, okay, I'm going to describe this or explain this differently. Empathy versus sympathy, okay? You tell me that you're overwhelmed. Like, if sympathy is you're throwing up on the side of the boat and I come throw up with you. Empathy is I get you a gravel, rub your back, bring you a glass of water and a blanket and push you to bed, right? So, you got to make sure you don't. So when they tell you you're overwhelmed, what do you say? Yeah, I know, man. It's freaking, there's so much going on, funnels and this. They say, I'm a chiropractor and people come and then never come back. You go, yeah, I know. I got the same damn thing. Do you have sympathy for them? Or do you go, no, there's no such thing as a bad student. There's only a bad teacher. You're not educating your clients on the fact that they're going to have short-term relief as a chiropractor. And then they're not going to come back. So you need to educate them at the very first appointment that this is what they're going to experience. And you're not going to settle for it if you have to drive over to their house, throw them over your shoulder and bring them back to the chiropractic clinic. Because if they get short-term relief and then don't come back, they are going to turn 60 and be in a freaking wheelchair, and you're not going to let that happen. You know what I mean?
Wow,
you see the difference between the two? Like, no such thing as a bad student. There's only a bad teacher. So you blow up the boats. And then as far as your other question about outsourcing and whatnot, the answer is kind of, sort of, maybe, right? Like, how big are you going to grow? How many clients are you going to plug in? How good of a coach are you? How patient are you? Like, I'm at this stage of my career and kind of life, and I hope I'm like a pit bull. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the worst. There's not enough money in the world for you to pay me to coach you. And it's just not an offer that I put out there. Right. But again, I'm like that pit bull. So there's people that are so much better at the coaching, but I think strategy wise and business model, and then, creating the software that you're now looking at that's systematic and step by step. And these are the exact 12 areas that I would go to really change the existence of the chiropractor, the dentist, the butcher, baker, candlestick maker. They're right there. Right. So that's what I'm doing. So the question is, how much patience do you got? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to be that pit bull? Then you're not the right guy.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And the last thing I'll say is, a couple of years ago, I worked with these guys, and this software package compared to what I saw blew my mind what they've done now. I'm done.
Awesome.
I'm done.
Thanks, Frank. I really, the kind words, man. Again, high five. I so appreciate that, brother.
Sure.
Cool, man. I'm going to put you back on mute. Good job, Frank, the copywriter. You legend. Speaking of legends, this is a legend I'm going to open up. This is a long-term client and somebody who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, none other than standing at 6'4", Mr. Eric Merz. Eric, you handsome devil. How's it going?
I get taller every day.
You were 6'3" last time I opened you up. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm just slightly under that. But anyway, you saw my question on the board?
No, sorry, I didn't. Can you?
Well, okay.
Give it to me?
So I have an insurance. Actually, I've worked with this guy in the past. He's got an insurance business. He provides group health insurance. That's his main thing. And most of the companies he deals with are business to business industrial firms like transportation, 100 to 250, 300 employees. Yep. And so I was going through this software because I said, I want to do a case study with you, and I just want to kind of wrap through it. I went through this jumpstart with him, and he just kept shooting me down. Well, I've done that. It didn't work. I did that. I spent this money. It didn't work. And just all over the place. And then basically he says it comes down to just blocking and tackling and calling people until somebody falls off and doesn't do their job. Then they switch. And he's right. The industries he's looking at, those people are pretty loyal. They don't look at their stuff every day as far as insurance. They just, if you can give them a better price on it, but health insurance is health insurance, and you're not going to, it's service, so.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm not sure the question is this
my
guy
question is what angle would you go? Yeah, what angle would you go?
Have you converted this guy?
No, not on this process. I have worked with him in the past, like years before LPW even. So for me,
gotcha. I'm going to kind of go in a different direction than I normally would, but I'm going to say next, right? Sometimes, and Eric, again, it'd be different. I was talking to somebody who was trying to work out how to make a mortgage payment, that sort of stuff, right? Clearly, there's a certain amount of time in the day and a certain amount of energy that you got to, you got your firm and everything else that you're doing. I just, you know what I mean? With the preeminence, like the fact that you're explaining to them some pretty basic stuff that we both know will work. Like I'll tell you, companies like that, it's a service-based, a realtor, a mortgage broker, a finance guy, or an insurance company. It's always the same. What I'll go in and do, or what I've done, is I think CRM, right? I just help them with the follow-up. The guys that are super successful in those spaces are always really good salespeople, right? So just think ADD on steroids, and they are horrifically bad at following up. So really with a guy like that, all I would do is, basically just throw a blanket on him, if you know what I mean, and just slow down, less people. It's like with business coaches, right? Like when you do a live event, we always talk about this. We want less people and better follow-up, not more people and worse follow-up, right? So obvious, but like most people are messing it up. Like in fact, I think I'm talking about this today or tomorrow in my email, but it's like, you could drive traffic to a landing page, okay? And then the internet marketer comes in and then he changes something, the red box, the offer, something becomes, larger, smaller, whatever, takes a few words off. Mm-hmm. But you increase the conversion on the landing page. But the problem, they don't follow that lead to see the sales, right? And the sales are all that matter, like money in the bank. So what I'm getting at is that internet marketer will come in, increase your conversion, and then actually hurt your sales. But on the front end, you're thinking, oh my God, this guy is whiz bang. That is amazing, right? So an example from the business coaching world is that you put a whole bunch of people in your seminar and you're like, my God, I had 25 people in my seminar. I'm awesome. I'm high-fiving. This is amazing. Everybody's up dancing, everything. It's great. But I'm like, yeah, but remember you had 10 people and you got 3 clients, and then you had 25 people and you only got 2 clients. You know what I mean? Like, hang on a minute. That's not, and it has to do with the follow-up, and it has to do with, I talk about like when you walk off stage, right then, most speakers will get off stage and they go take a pee, right? I'm like, okay, there's a lot of stupid things I could do, but that would be amongst the stupidest, right? That's like Michael Jordan falling into the zone and then calling over to Phil Jackson and saying, look, my knee, I think I want to sit down. He's like, what do you mean? You just hit 3 3-pointers in a row, man. You're on a roll. You're not going anywhere, right? So that's kind of 80-20 stuff, 150 stuff. So what am I saying? If I'm Eric, it's next. That being said, and the benefit of everybody, I just gave you exactly what I would do with this guy. I would just throw a blanket on him and help him get significantly more organized, because I would almost guarantee that he's really good on the sales part of it and then really bad on the follow-up, because that's, the insurance, finance, mortgage brokers, and realtors pretty much always fall into that category. So versus the sexy, bundling and that sort of stuff, right? Like, and he's told you point blank, look, I've tried that. It didn't work. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work by any stretch of the imagination. And joint ventures actually is another, with him, joint ventures is also going to be a home run and something that he should be looking at.
Yep.
What do you think?
That's why I tried to go down the joint venture with him, and he threw water on that too. We had about 3 examples in the past, but it didn't work. So it's like, I just off the call. It was like 25 minutes, and I said, no, this isn't working. Let's just have lunch.
Let's just have a beer next time.
That's what we're going to do. But I probably can help him with his time management, his organizational stuff, and then we'll circle back on that. So you confirmed what I was thinking. Thank you.
Beautiful, Eric. You're a legend, man. Appreciate you, bud.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to put him back on mute. I got my buddy Dan. Dan, I'm coming for you. Mr. Dan Cochran, you are muted, my friend. You got to unmute yourself, boss. Come on, Dan. I grew up in Cochran, ladies and gentlemen, so Dan Cochran's got to be unmuted. Okay, that is cool. Okay, Dan, I unmuted you there, bud, so you can work that out. Hit the button. What else do I got? Okay, so let me read out. I want to make sure that I get, this is the last one of these guys, and we got 2 minutes to go here. So let me do this. Let me just read off a couple. Let's pump these off. Okay, what does this say? I'm going to put my guys, I don't wear glasses, and you know who needs to wear glasses every day a little bit worse and a little bit worse? It would be me. So I struggle to read some of this stuff. I've heard you talk about being profitable. Okay. Yes. Okay. You've heard me talk about, I got a business owner says I'm profitable. Where the heck is all my money? That is a really good question. Actually, I'm glad that this has been asked. What would I say to that? And no doubt, guys, if you haven't experienced this, you will. A little bit like Eric and I were just talking about. It's like the business coach puts 25 people in the room and then really thinks that's amazing. But then when we really look at it, they made less sales than when they only had 10 people in the room. Why? A bunch of factors would go into that, but one of which is probably that, the 2 came really quick and easy And his follow-up was a little bit lackluster, and he waited, an entire week to follow up with everybody. The water got lukewarm and then cold, and they weren't as excited about it. So you're better to have less people and excellent follow-up as opposed to more people and poor follow-up. No doubt that's pretty straightforward. A similar, of the same germane, I would say, would be this one, where we got a really profitable business, but their bank account's empty. I can tell you. So I just finished a book, Accounting 101 for Business Coaches. In fact, I finished it some time ago, and it's an 80-20 thing, getting this freaking thing to print and done. This is that last 20 is killing us, but we are going to get there very shortly. This is something that I talked about. So if you have a business in this situation, there are 5 specific areas. And when I say specific, there are 5 areas only where you're going to find their cash, right? So again, the business is profitable, but they got no money and they're wondering where the hell their money is, right? So where you're going to find it, it is going to be in expenses, which is pretty obvious. All you do is go to their credit card statements and go to their profit loss. Okay. You look at their expenses, cut stuff out that they don't need, and then negotiate anything you can. In fact, before I continue with this, here's what's really powerful. You got a business owner that has 20% margins. When you make them $1, they keep 20 cents, and then 80 cents is lit on fire through expenses and whatnot. No doubt that makes sense, right? But when I go to their expenses, I go to their you just go to their expenses and you decrease $1. Basically, they keep 100 cents on the dollar. In other words, there's an 80 cents variance there. If you're coaching somebody, you want to put the money in their bank account immediately. So if you're 24 grand a year, 2 grand a month, 24 grand a year, you want to put that money in their bank account. You want to do it soon. And you need to don't expect them to notice and go, wow, golly gee willikers, my new coach, Dan, we're working so well. He's put all this money in my bank account, right? Like that's not the way they're going to see it. Okay. It's more going to be like, what have you done for me lately? And that's going to go straight over their head the minute after you teach it to them, and then they follow through, and then you're not really going to get credit for it. So you got to make sure that you just whip out and say, you realize by cutting out X over the next 12 months without losing $1 of revenue, I just saved you $8,402. Well, remember, I'm 24 grand a year. Oh, and by the way, the other one was 7 grand. Okay. So now we're at what? We're at 15 grand. Gosh, I only have to come up with another 9, and I've covered my fees for the entire 12 months. Do you realize that? Do you realize how well this is going? Like, do you see what I just did? I brought it to their attention how well this is going and how much money I'm making them. Very important that you do that. But anyway, so their expenses, boom. The second area where you're going to find this money is revenues, which no doubt that's pretty obvious, but that's just instead of trying to increase the average, what you want to do is take what they're doing and pouring gasoline on it. There's an old saying in business, it works so well, I no longer do it. Okay. It works so well, I no longer do it. Don't let them fall into that. Basically just go to their revenues and see what's working and pour gasoline on it, and then see what has worked in the past that they're no longer doing, and basically drive some revenues. Pretty straightforward. Most coaches get that at a really high level. Here's one with a star. Okay. Accounts receivable. If you have a client with an accounts receivable problem, okay, they need to stop everything. There is a hole in the boat, and potentially a big one. What they need to do is they need to go to nothing else but their accounts receivable. And this isn't something that's outsourced and the top sales guy or the accounts, the person that, does the, accounts and whatnot. This is something that the owner, presumably this is a small company, should be stepping in, and they should be looking after this, because the insanity of having an accounts receivable problem where you earn the business, you sell the business, you pay commission on the business, you sell your salesperson to close the business, you show up on the business, you do the work, you fulfill on it, you bring in the products and all that sort of stuff, and then you forget to collect the money. This is crazy, right? And don't think that this isn't something that a lot of them are doing. And not only should you look at their accounts receivable with fear of going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, here's what I want you to think of. Accounts receivable is like a line item that lives on a balance sheet. Okay. Really what you need is it itemized. So let's say, again, just for arbitrary number, 100 grand is owed. and there's exactly 10 people that owe the money and everybody owes exactly 10 grand. We need a list of those businesses and then $10,000 beside each of the 10. And the other thing we need to have when we itemize it is how old is it? Is it aged? Like, is it 14 days old? Is it 30 days old? Is it, 60? Is it 90 days old, 120 or older? Okay. Really simple. If you got something that's aged, like it's 120 days and you haven't collected it, look, you need to get on the phone and you need to know, look, are we going to collect this money? Okay. If you're not, and the company's gone, they're not answering the phone or they're going bankrupt or whatever it might be, you've got to get that money out of accounts receivable, because accounts receivable lives on the asset side of a balance sheet, which, without confusing anybody here that doesn't really understand accounting, and you don't need to understand accounting to understand this, that you will pay tax on that, because that'll show a profit, right? You pay tax on your profit. So let's say that of the 100 grand, 30 is not going to be realized and you're not getting it back. You got to get that 30 to the other side of your balance sheet and write it off. And why? Because you're paying tax on the $30,000 and not collecting it. If it wasn't bad before, now you're actually paying tax on it. Remember, what's the guy's problem? He's got a cash flow problem. He's like profitable, but there is no cash. You see the way $30,000 of that quote unquote profit was lit on fire? And now you might also be thinking, how could that happen? How could the accountant let this happen? Are you serious? And abso-freaking-lutely, right? Crazy, crazy, crazy. Most business owners go to see their accountant 3 months after the year is over. Rush. Like, I got to stay compliant with the government. I don't want to fine and whatnot, right? So basically, accounts receivable, that is where the cash could lie. Get to that straight away. And again, that is a hole in the boat, and you fix that son of a gun. Inventory is another one. Pretty obvious, right? Not just inventory, but you've also got waste. Like, let's say that you've got look, no doubt you understand inventory, pretty straightforward, right? Like, if I sell watches or I sell, widgets, it's how many watches and how many widgets I've got. Okay. But there's also like wastage is something like cost of goods sold becomes inventory. You've really got to understand the relationship between cost of goods sold. Like, nothing is cost of goods sold and inventory. Cost of goods sold becomes inventory. And then what happens when there's a bit of a gap, right? Like, it's, that's what you call wastage. And you've got to make sure there's not a hole there. So the bottom line, inventory is where a lot of that money can live and maybe die is a better word for it. And then the other one, and this one is very seldom taught and talked about, but again, I can't begin to tell you, it's very important. Accounts payable. How many times do you work with a business and they say, no, I pay all my bills up front. I don't like debt. Okay. The same person that says that tends to be the same personality that won't collect their accounts receivable. Okay. So imagine paying everything up front and then forgetting to collect your money, right? You wonder why you have a cash flow problem. It's right there. And if you buy something from Apple, they don't pay you for 91 days. Debatably the most cash flush company on the planet. Okay. And then you buy something from them, they don't pay you for 91 days. And the question is like, why? Well, this is why, because they know the importance of, having cash in the bank account and the value of it. Profit is theory. Cash is reality. Think of it that way. Profit is just a theory, right? Cash in the bank. That's where, the rubber meets the road. That's when, you're, the real nature and the real magic of your business is right there. So anyways, that's a really good question. I could go on a little bit there, but that's real powerful. You see a business that they go unprofitable, but I got no cash. With 100% certainty, the money is in those 5 areas. All you got to do is go help them lift up a few rocks and you'll be able to find it. So that's expenses, revenues, accounts receivable, inventory, and accounts payable. So there you go. And folks, it's 9 minutes past. Let me do just a quick little run through here. But I apologize, guys. I'm not going to be able to get to all the questions. But if there's anything here that I feel like I can rip through real quick. Frank's encouraging me. I got to. I need to sell. Okay. To keep Frank happy, my boy, Let me take you guys here. Real simple. Look, there's some folks on here, guys. You want to get together with us? I'm going to try my pen, see if it's working. Guys, if you want to chat, do me a favor. Actually, hang on. What am I doing? Just go here. Let me do this. Go to Coaching Clients Now. I know that looks a little lame on my screen, but whatever. Go to coachingclientsnow.com. Okay. There's a couple or maybe even 3 calendars there, and grab yourself a time if you're sitting there thinking, gee, this is pretty good stuff. I need to have a look at the software. I need to work with these guys. A lot of this stuff makes sense. Make sure you, get over to Coaching Clients Now, and we will help you get cranking. And Frank, I super appreciate you. I appreciate you doing that. Name of the book is at this stage, and there might be a slight adjustment. It's Accounting 101 for business coaches. Cool bananas. Gregory Carver. Thank you. I need that LOL. Okay. Actually, I'm going to open up Gregory. I love it when people are saying amazing things. I don't think, yo, Gregory, I'm going to come open you up, man. And you can say all these wonderful things, these wonderful coaches live. If you so choose, feel free to stay quiet there, Shoots. No problems. But he's saying some kind things, which of course we appreciate. How would I finish this off, guys? I want to finish this off the same way that I started it. Just that, look, a business coach, guys, like honestly, and sure, you can make good money, and it's amazing how, you can do this for literally decades and never stop. Warren Buffett, I always say, highest paid business consultant in the world. The guy just had his 90th birthday, still consulting, still helping companies, and of course he's helping Coke and, or Coke and whoever else, these large companies. But, again, we're just helping smaller ones. At the end of the day, though, total magic. So that's really like, it's a great way to make some dough, but the real inspiration, and certainly for me, it's like the reason we do it. And I always just, metaphorically, and I'm no way trying to push, little Karl on you guys in any way, shape or form, but it's more a metaphor for like, call for their kids, to stop the separation, to stop the divorce, right? To stop the argument, to stop the stress. And then what does the stress lead to? We all know, right? Big nasty thing starts with a C. So that's why you do it, guys. And then of course it goes to the depression, and then it's the suicidal thoughts, and then potentially it's the suicides, and it is happening. You guys know people that have committed suicide. I definitely know people that have committed suicide, and I'm talking about entrepreneurs here. And for every person I know that committed suicide, I mean, I know a lot of people that metaphorically had the gun in their mouth, ready to do it, kind of like it's unbelievable. So as business coaches, guys, yeah, it's a great way to make a living, but it's a noble pursuit on steroids. So when you're thinking about reaching out, and I think I said earlier, like I cold called, like I sent a cold message to somebody who I wanted to talk to. Don't think for a second, like cold calling. If you don't have a network, you've got to go and grow a network. Like it just can't help you with that one, right? That's one you got to go do. So unfortunately, your airplane's on the ground, but the good news, and something I've often talked about, I don't know if I've done it in this series, but like if you meet somebody that was in a concentration camp back in the day, right? They will tell you it was horrific. It's the starvation, the dehydration, people dying to your left and right. You could only imagine the circumstances and how horrific they were. You speak to somebody who survived, and they will tell you the worst thing about it was not knowing when it was going to end. That was the worst bit, right? So there was like a date that they could work towards significantly easier. They didn't have that. So why do I say that? Yeah, you got a cold call. Okay. But especially, if you work with us, we absolutely have solutions for all this and show you exactly how to do it. But really what I want you to think about is there is a date that you no longer need the cold call. And the way you do that is that you just, basically you fill your network. I'd love to be able to go into this spiel, but I don't have time here. If that topic and you're wondering how the heck do I do that, just follow anytime that I talk about live event mastery. And I'm sure, it's all over the podcast. It would be in my emails. Just follow that. But in a nutshell, you're going to do live events. And then on the third live event, when you get a little bit better at it, you're going to put an accountant in the room, and you're going to make the accountant look amazing, and he's not going to expect it. And then when you walk on stage, instead of running to the bathroom and taking a pee, because you're more introverted, you want to talk to people, you go stand really close to the accountants, because when you think 80-20 and then 150, in that one room, there's somebody with 400 clients, and then there's the butcher, baker, candlestick maker. I'm going towards the accountant. What am I doing with the accountant? I'm going, hey, if you like that presentation, man, we could do that for 5 to 10 of your clients at a time. I'll butter you up. You butter me up. More to the point, we'll change these freaking guys' lives because we'll teach them a whole lot, right? Well, then the accountant's like, wow. And then my fourth event, I put the guy who owns the magazine or the newspaper. And then the next event, I put the digital marketer. And the next event, I put the business broker. And every time I throw it to them and I make them look like superstars, which they're not expecting it. And do I get a joint venture every single time? Or did I get a joint venture every single time? No. Did I get a joint venture ridiculous, like a high percentage of the time? The answer is yes. And did I get much better at it? Did I do one thing I didn't do is I didn't do 3, 5, 10 events and then decide if it worked, right? Or maybe let's say didn't do, 1 or 3 events and decide if it worked. I did 10 events and then decided if it worked. If you do 10 events, you're going to hit a home run. But anyway, so again, that's a significantly deeper conversation that I could go into, but I just described Live Event Mastery, which is a program that we have that is 100% bulletproof. If you like the idea of running local live events, I filled over 400 local live events myself, and literally the program is step by step exactly how we do it. And we do the workbooks, and we do the invites, and we do the landing pages and the registration page, and the countdown timer, etc. So, but that's basically how you do it right there. I got off on that in that, yeah, you got a cold call. You were an airplane stuck to the bitumen, to the tarmac, right? Well, you got to get your plane up in the air. That's how you do it. You've got to pick up the phone. You've got to reach out cold. Don't reach out because you need money. Don't reach out because you're looking for coaching clients. Frankly, if you do, it won't happen. And if you're wondering to date why it hasn't been happening and like, why am I in my own way? What's the procrastination about? It's because you're making it about you. You got to make it about little Carl, little Susie, little Johnny. Make it for the kid of the entrepreneur whose dad's not showing up and he's, metaphorically again in the fetal position in bed because he can't pay the bills. His wife won't have sex with him. It's not going, you know what I mean? Like divorce, the separation is matter of fact happening. The divorce is coming and then he's only going to have 50% of his kids and he's going to have to cut, the whole thing in half and he's going to lose most of his friends. And he's going to and it goes like, and then it's for mom as well, right? It's the same thing. Like, that's why you pick up the phone. That's why you're going to send out the messages. That's why you're going to help the people with upsell, downsell, cross-sell. Hopefully, and Frank, this is coming from Frank, okay? Hopefully you're going to then use our software to basically facilitate all this because you might not have decades and decades of experience of helping business owners. So what would I say to that? Well, I can tell you that if I work with somebody, the 12 specific areas that I would 100% go to if I was going to help somebody and, again, find $100,000 in 45 minutes, those are the 12 areas. And then when I help them in 90 days and I want to put, $24,000 in their bank account and pay my fees before, by the 90-day mark, these are the 12 areas that I go, right? And again, upsell, downsell, cross-sell, proper upfront offer, etc. So anyways, guys, I hope that was good. I hope I ended up, doing my end of the bargain, which was that I would solve any business coaching problem on the spot. I am happy to say that to my knowledge, I don't think I got stumped on anything. But yeah, it's been my honor. I appreciate you guys. And if you want to chat to us and you want to have a look through the software and that sort of stuff, just jump on coachingclientsnow.com and we will look after you. But I really appreciate you guys participating in this. And I'll finish with saying again, high five to you, because if you want to know, hey, Carl, what's the difference between the business coach that makes $60,000 a year and the one that makes $120,000 a year and the one that makes $500,000 a year? It's you're participating in it, right? You've got to be here. And that's not because I know it all. Most definitely not. I mean, I've learned from you guys. I learned from my clients. I learned from, the greats of the industry and the Jay Abrahams and the Dan Kennedys and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm constantly trying to educate myself so that I can deliver what I hope is pretty good advice to you guys in some direction. This is the difference, guys. You've got to be humble enough, and really honor your, the humility to be able to say, I don't know it all. I need some extra training. Like, that's the difference. If you were to say, Carl, why have you done well in coaching and then somebody else doesn't? It's because I'm still to this day, I think I'm pretty good at this stuff. And, there's a debate there, right? Some will argue, and I'm totally okay with that. And yes, they will. But, to this day, like today, I will go. I told you, I went for a walk this morning, doing my incantation And I can tell you that I will be, by the end of today, I will have educated myself for a minimum an hour, YouTube, audio, podcast, etc. I will have educated myself for at least an hour today. Right. And why? Because I need to, right? Because there's a purpose, significantly greater than that I'm fulfilling here. So that's what I do. And it's not about me, guys. It's about you. So what are you going to do today? I'm going to be listening, for an hour today. What are you guys going to be doing? And I hope you're going to be crushing it and educating yourself and really embracing humility and whatnot, and just going, you know what? I need some help. Like Eric, who I opened up earlier. I mean, Eric, you get to know Eric, and he's a big guy. I tease him. I make him a little taller than he actually is, but he's a big man and a great guy. This guy does well, right? Like he's not, out there business coaching. Well, guess what? He's on this, he's there today, listening to me, right? And believe me, he's got some other things to be doing and the responsibilities and businesses and this, that, and the other. Here he is. So that's what I would say, folks. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you reaching out or, participating in this and playing full out and bringing a bunch of questions. I apologize. And any questions that I didn't get to, which I have already done, I pass them on to Road Dogg and we'll answer them in the podcast. So you can always follow me in the podcast. So I hope that was helpful, guys. God bless you. I appreciate you. And that's it for me. Thanks, folks.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.